Hi, my name is Tori, and today I want to tell you a story of how I almost died during an ayahuasca session, but I would still recommend people to try it. And when I say that I almost died, I don't mean it in like some sort of spiritual ego death sense. I actually mean that I almost lost my life. This is not a happy-go-lucky story. This is actually a cautionary tale. And I decided to become very vulnerable and share it with people because I believe it has a very powerful message behind it. I don't want anybody to make the mistakes that I made and put themselves in a situation that I was in. And if what I went through can somehow help somebody avoid this type of situation, I wholeheartedly hope that my pain didn't go to waste. But first, I need to give you some context. So for some backstory, I am almost 30 years old by now, and I have taken ayahuasca 6 times in my life. 5 out of those 6 times were majorly beneficial and good experiences. Some of them were absolutely transformational and have showed me the full potential of what this medicine can do for a person. But one of those 6 times was basically a scam, and it turned out to be an absolutely traumatic experience. So a little backstory. Fortunately for me, I have taken my first ayahuasca at 23 in Peru. Personally, I decided to only take ayahuasca in countries where it's fully legal, and there is a deeply rooted culture of doing this sort of ceremony, with full understanding of its potential, but also its risks. The first time I ever done it was in Peru. I was under incredible care of both the shamans, but also a nurse, a psychologist, a whole team of carers that were making sure that not only me, but everybody else in the ceremony was really taken care of. My first 2 ceremonies that I did consecutively at the age of 23 were both incredibly amazing. They have allowed me incredible spiritual growth and full connection to the medicine. I haven't decided to do another session until I really felt the calling, and that only came after about 5.5 years. Unfortunately, the third time I... Hello, 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 so cute. Hello, hello. So cute. Sí. No, está bien. That was so cute. Fortunately, the first time I ever had ayahuasca was not that good of an experience. I'll tell you the story with all the details because I really care for people to understand what went wrong and where did I make my mistakes when it comes to the research and the choice. Ultimately, I think it comes down to the choice of the people that I decided to do this with. So almost 2 years ago, I was doing a trip through Central America. And at the end of my trip, I was planning to do 2 ceremonies of ayahuasca in Mexico, where it's also a legal thing. Before I arrived in Mexico, I had quite limited time and I was searching for the places to do it online. First place I've ever been to, I also found online, and I was, well, very lucky with the place I ended up finding. This time I used a service that was called Retreat Guru, which is a platform that promotes a lot of retreats, and this is how I found those people. The price was, let's call it, fairly reasonable, and they were offering me a session with like 5 people for about 200 euros, and from what they were saying, it seemed legit enough to me. So I arrived in a community close to Playa del Carmen in Quintana Roo. I stayed over in a cabana and I went to talk to the people that were offering me the ceremony. So it was actually only 2 people, and I decided to actually mention their names because, as much as I don't want anybody to go and harass them, I don't think those people should ever get a single more client after me. I know that I was not the only person that those people have hurt, and I don't think that those people should have access to plant medicine that they are offering. They are very, very irresponsible people. So there is Gabriel. Gabriel is a bit older man who is originally Italian, but he claims to have spent many years in the Amazon, where he have learned about the plant medicine. Whatever his claims are, I think it's very irrelevant to what he actually does. And then there is the woman Agustina, who is originally from Uruguay. And I have no idea what sort of connection she has to the medicine, but I don't think it truly matters in this case. When I first came there, Gabriel has given me a very broad explanation about a lot of things, has said a lot of words, And it turned out that there will not be anybody else on the ceremony but me. So I would have a private session. I was under the impression I would have a private session with him, but it turned out it would be with Agustina. The ceremony took place in their own house. And so that evening I was about to do my ceremony. Now, here to say, I take ayahuasca very seriously, and I have prepared myself meticulously for the past 2 weeks before the ceremony actually happened. I have done my detox, I have done my cleanses, I had my intentions very clear, and I do take this very seriously. Honestly, I don't take this as a recreational drug. I do believe I have done my due diligence to prepare my body and my mind for that experience, but nothing could have prepared me for what was about to happen. So in the evening, I have come to the house, and Agustina have gave me a dose of ayahuasca. And I can tell you immediately, I could tell that this ayahuasca was just weird. This is something I couldn't have known even if I haven't taken ayahuasca before. It was incredibly watery. It did taste like ayahuasca, which is a very characteristic taste, but it had little bits just spread around like some really disgusting water. Didn't have a good consistency. So I laid down and started waiting for the plant to take hold of me. In the meantime, Agustina started playing some music from the speaker. And when I tell you how much this music actually annoyed me, it was not just like some sort of calm background music. They're just like those spiritual songs that you hear, like conscious vibes sort of music, which did not vibe with me at all in that moment. I do mention this because I do think it's relevant to my experience and what happened later. So I waited and waited, and I waited like 2 hours and nothing happened. So I said to Agustina, I'm not really feeling anything happening, which is a bit weird. It's been 2 hours. What did she do then? She gave me changa. For those of you who don't know what changa is a form of DMT that you smoke. It normally just like gives you a hit and flips you off to another universe for just like a couple of minutes at max. I've never taken changa before. I wasn't sure if it's recommended or not while you do ayahuasca. I honestly had no idea whether this mixes or not, but I trusted those people and I trusted that they probably have their best interest at heart with me. So I did it. It flipped me out. I came back after 15 minutes, but there was still nothing. And then Agustina gave me more ayahuasca. So I have no idea how much I actually have taken, but it was probably way too much. After I have taken the second doses, I have laid down, but I have asked Agustina to please turn off the music. And when I tell you, the moment she turned off that speaker, it all started. It came up so strong for me that I started vomiting immediately. Obviously, vomiting is a part of the cleansing process. It's nothing that weird. But I vomited profoundly, and I could feel this is completely overwhelming for me, this experience, and I really needed help. I asked Agustina to give me water, and she couldn't find it. She didn't know where the water was, and so she left the room. And that was the first red flag for me. I was there alone with her while Gabriel, the man, was in a room upstairs. In that moment, when I stayed alone, I was honestly starting to panic a little bit because I was coming up so hard, I could barely handle it. I didn't know where top and bottom was. And she just left me there. I didn't know for how long she's gonna leave me. And in that moment, I heard Gabriel talking on the phone. When I tell you how that disturbed me, oh my God. Agustina came back, and she didn't come back with water. She came back with my electrolytes because I brought some bottles of electrolytes for after the ceremony, which is a very healthy thing to do. And I said, not electrolytes, please water. I need water. And also I asked, could you please tell Gabriel to not talk, to stop talking? This is disturbing me. Can you please tell him to stop? And so she left me again, which is where the reality of the situation started dawning on me. I started realizing that she doesn't know what the hell she's doing. And there I mention one thing. Agustina did not take ayahuasca with me. She had no idea in what state I actually was and how hard it was hitting me. She came back with some water, but she did not tell Gabriel to stop talking. He kept talking on the phone which was so disturbing in my condition. When I was coming up, I could feel it was interfering so severely with my vibration and with my mental state. It was honestly disrupting me so much. I started shouting, Gabriel, can you please stop talking? Can you please stop talking? He didn't stop. He didn't give a shit. He kept talking on the phone, which I could just hear all of it. I started shouting because I realized they are not taking me fucking seriously. They were not taking me seriously, and they didn't know how to help me in this situation. After Agustina brought me some water, I drank and I laid down and I just tried to calm myself down. Finally, at some point, Gabriel stopped talking on the phone. Agustina, in place, just started blowing some rosemary in my face. But something that I realized in that moment that caused me the deepest panic was that I am not in good hands. I am not in hands of people that know what the hell they're doing. She did not take ayahuasca with me. She could not lead me. She could not help me in this trip. So when I laid down, I just tried to calm myself down, just feel my body, breathe deeply, and connect to the plant. Anybody here that has ever taken ayahuasca knows that this is an intelligent plant. And what I mean by that is not just a substance that allows you to trip. It is an actual intelligence that you can call upon when you are lost. You can ask it questions. You can ask it to help you reach a point. And so I just started asking, please show me the way. Please, Mother Ayahuasca. And I was trying to connect to the plant within me, but there was nothing there. Whatever I have taken had literally the opposite effect of what ayahuasca normally does to you. Ayahuasca normally makes you feel connected to the whole universe. I felt like I got disconnected from the whole universe. I was disconnected from every single connection I ever felt. I was thrown into a black void where there was absolutely nothing. I could not feel the energy of ayahuasca at all. That loving, calming energy that guides you, I could not feel it. There was nothing there, just darkness. Since I couldn't connect to that, I tried to cry out to connect with the energy of my first shaman because I felt I needed guidance so badly in that moment. I was so lost. I felt I was thrown into the void and I didn't know how to maneuver around it at all by myself. So I tried to reach out to my shaman, but I couldn't. There was nothing there. I tried to reach out to the energy of my mother or my father, any connection, anybody who ever loved me, and there was nothing there. I was absolutely alone in a void, and I could feel that my mind started escaping my body. I was just desperately clutching on to my clothes, to and telling myself to stay in this body, stay in this body. When I tell you how terrifying that was, that is exactly why I call this a near death experience in my case. I don't think this was just some sort of ego death. I genuinely could have left my body in that moment. Ayahuasca is no joke. You absolutely can die on an ayahuasca trip. This happens to people, and it can be a peaceful thing or it can be a very desperate and dramatic thing. And when I tell you there was nobody there to help me to stay where in my body where I was, there really wasn't. Agustina didn't know what the fuck she was doing. She was jumping around me with some rosemary. Then she started playing at some point like that music from a speaker that was disturbing my vibration so much you have no idea. She just didn't know where I was. And I was just so grateful that I was the only person on that trip. I was supposed to be there with my ex boyfriend, but I broke up with him a couple of weeks before that. And in some weird way, I saved him from the worst first ayahuasca experience he could have ever had. I think what made this painfully clear to me that something is really wrong was the fact that I have taken ayahuasca before that. I knew that this is not how I'm supposed to feel. I knew that this is not what ayahuasca feels like normally, and the things are not going well for me. But all I could do in that situation was just wait. was just wait until the effect stops taking hold of me. It lasted just about 3 hours, which honestly was a goddamn blessing because ayahuasca can last way more than that. After my session, I was so vulnerable, I was so broken, but I didn't have any energy in me to confront Agustina or Gabriel about what happened to me. They just brought me to my cabana and just left me there. I still somehow, I don't know how, found some energy in me to cook myself an oatmeal. Because I didn't eat anything that day. I like to fast the day of ayahuasca. I managed to make myself an oatmeal and put myself to sleep. The next day, I woke up so broken. That experience have traumatized me so hard and left me so incredibly vulnerable. But I didn't know what to do because I have booked two experiences with those people, one ceremony after the other, 2 days in a row. I knew there's no way that I'm gonna do the second one with them. Not after this experience, like what the fuck. So I went to talk with Gabrielle and I was hoping for maybe just a bit of compassion and a bit of understanding. I just wanted to share what happened to me and maybe that they could help me in some sort of way. But I could never, never expect what happened. When I got to talk with Gabriel, this man spent 1.5 hours on talking over me and berating me, gaslighting me into thinking that this was somehow my fault, that I am my own shaman, that I should be able to guide myself through this. He was deflecting so fucking hard any sort of blame on their part. Like, he would not listen to a single word I said. When I tell you 1.5 hours of this type of behavior, I was just there on the verge of tears because I was absolutely fucking broken and I could not like even properly defend myself. The only thing I could manage to kind of get to him, I remember he said something like, you know what? So many of those gringos come to ayahuasca and try to take ayahuasca because they are so disconnected from everybody and they try to connect. And in that moment, I managed to get a word and said, yes, exactly. But I didn't feel connected. I was disconnected. I was completely disconnected from everything. And I was like, oh, that's weird. That shouldn't happen. Like, no shit, that shouldn't happen. So why the fuck did it happen? What the fuck did you give me? Like, I have no idea why what happened this way happened this way. Was the ayahuasca that I've taken, I legitimately thought, was it like spoiled? Was it just badly prepared? Which I think is a very big possibility because the ayahuasca itself didn't seem proper. But like, regardless of how the ayahuasca was prepared, what was the most atrocious part was that my guide guide didn't take the ayahuasca with me. You cannot guide somebody for an ayahuasca ceremony if you are not an ayahuasca yourself, if you are not fully connected with the plant and you know how to guide the person. You cannot, that's just not how it works. You're just like a glorified trip sitter otherwise. Agustina didn't know what the hell she was doing. She had no idea how deeply I was gone. She had no idea I was on the verge of death in those moments, and she for sure didn't know how the hell to bring me back from there. But those people didn't take any sort of responsibility upon their shoulders. This guy just berated me for 1.5 hours to my face when I was completely broken and unable to defend myself. After that, he gave me back the $200 for the second session and sent me on my merry way, totally broken and shattered. I honestly came out from that place like the most broken human being you can imagine, because I came there for healing. I was fully ready to embrace Mother Ayahuasca again. Instead, I got so damaged that I had no idea how to help myself. Fortunately, this story does have a happy ending because the place I was in was an absolutely lovely community in the jungle. Within that space, there are many other places that hosted not only ayahuasca ceremonies, but many other medicine ceremonies as well. There was a lovely little cenote at that jungle community where I met a couple of incredible women that first listened to me and listened to my experience and reassured me that what happened was not right. This was absolutely not what your experience should have been, and have acknowledged how badly this affected me. One of them had told me about the place where she was staying that was doing mushrooms. And that day in the evening, I was so broken, I didn't know what to do with myself. I stumbled into that place and I just asked, is there anybody that could help me? I was led to the father of the house, who, from the moment he saw me, just had the most softest, heartbroken expression on his face and just asked, my child, what happened to you? He could see just how broken of a person I was in that moment. I was on the verge of tears and I didn't know what to do. And I told him what happened. I told him that I took ayahuasca with those people that were literally just a couple of hundred of meters across from that place. And he said, we don't know those people. If they live here, they're not a part of this community. They don't socialize with anybody here. But you are not the first person that comes from that place absolutely broken. And then he told me that that night they actually do have a ceremony with a proper taita that came all the way from Colombia. And he invited me with open arms to attend. I tell you, that ceremony saved my fucking life and sanity. It was amazingly conducted, very big ceremony. There were more than 30 people on it. However, the Taita was an incredible professional. There were also many helpers that managed that amount of people with incredible grace and consideration. The ayahuasca I have taken that day was proper. It actually didn't even taste bad, which was crazy to me. I could feel its healing properties wash over me, and majority of the second session was literally just me crying over the hurt that happened to me the night before. I could not believe that some people can be so neglectful that they might give you something so damaging and not give a single fuck about you afterwards. I could not believe that two people who don't know me at all, that I decide to trust to be in my most vulnerable state with, could treat me like this. Could not believe it, but it was true. That's exactly what happened. And in all fairness, I was lucky. I was truly lucky. During that second ceremony, the Taita at some point pulled me to the side and did a bunch of exorcisms on me, a lot of cleansing. He said he could tell there was a lot of dark energy around me. I told him about my experience, and he said that I have absorbed a lot of the darkness that I was surrounded by when I was thrown into that void. He managed to lift it off of me, fortunately. And then after the whole ceremony, I spoke both with the Taita and with the father of that house that invited me. They said that they heard about those sort of circumstances, and that I was actually quite lucky, because there are people that would give others ayahuasca and then take their organs or rape them. I know this is extreme, but it's actually true. So from that perspective, I was truly the lucky one. Little to say, that experience have left me incredibly vulnerable and traumatized, and I still took a lot of time to process what actually happened to me. One thing I did very shortly after, however, was write on one of those Facebook groups for spiritual retreats in Mexico, talking about my experience and warning people about those specific ayahuasca facilitators. I just wrote a very honest post sharing my experience without too many details. And you know what? Gabriel replied with the same sort of shitty gaslighting answer that he tried to aim at me beforehand. Honestly, he literally just called me a young, angry woman in his message while writing a massive, massive shit comment under my post. A lovely administrator of that group wrote afterwards, I am so glad that this person actually replied, because now people know two sides of the story and they can make up their own mind about it. Which I think speaks for itself. So now let's get to the moral of the story and the most important part. So now, why do I actually tell you this? I tell you this because unfortunately those certain situations are way more common than they should be. There are way too many scammers and people that claim to be ayahuasca facilitators that are actually either incredibly irresponsible at best, to be honest, or purely scammy and cruel. at worst. Not even talking about those ones that actually harvest organs and rape women. I still do believe that ayahuasca is something that can help so many people with so many things about their mental, spiritual, even physical health. Doing ayahuasca properly is an incredible gift that should be spread around. It should be done, but it should be done properly. And I truly want to encourage everybody to not make the mistakes that I made. So, what mistakes did I make specifically that led me to this situation? I don't think it was necessarily that much of a problem that I found those people on Retreat Guru or that it was online or something like that. I think the problem was that I could not fully verify whether they were legitimate. I also think that a mistake I made, or at least it's something I'm never gonna do again, is that those people were not native. They were not Native American. They were not shamans nor Tetas. And I wouldn't say that every shaman and Teta is good, because they also could be scammy, but it's already leagues better of an assessment than one Italian dude that claims to have lived for 10 years in the Amazon and some Uruguayan woman, which I honestly, I till this day have no idea what the hell does she do. I will never again do an ayahuasca with anybody that isn't an experienced shaman, a person native to Latin America. I don't think that's necessarily because of their race or their nationality. I think it's because of the ties to the culture and the fact that proper Taita from their cultures, they start taking ayahuasca from when they're babies. Literally, they give ayahuasca to children in the Amazon. That's how those people grow incredible spiritual connection to the plants. They grow their own ayahuasca plants, they prepare their own medicine. I think that's so incredibly important for the shaman, for the taita, for the mage in some cases, to have that deep spiritual connection to the plant and also to take it with you while you're doing it. Otherwise, there's no way that they can understand how to guide you through the experience. So that's number one. Proper shaman with credentials and connection to the land. I think another mistake I made was that I rushed it. I really wanted to just arrive and be able to do the ceremony as I go. But that means that I didn't give myself enough time to verify those people. I would say, if you can, go to a place and first do an interview in person. I know it's not always possible, but if you cannot get some sort of reviews or recommendations from other people that had those sort of experiences in that place, just don't do it. Another thing, I would never do ayahuasca in a place that's disturbing to your energy. What disturbed me the most during my ceremony was the music from a speaker, which was just, I don't know why. Maybe somebody can lean into the comments why this was so disturbing. But I have been on other ceremonies in which the music is played live for instruments, and it's perfectly adjusted to what is going on. The music can lead you. The music can guide you. That's why the shamans sing ikados. That's why in some other cultures they play music during the ceremonies, but they play it themselves. They sing, and they adjust to what's going on within you. Music from the speaker will never do that. That music is not channeled. That music is just put on. And I think that was one of the things that disturbed me. Another one was Gabriel talking on the phone. The usage of any sort of electronic devices is just so not recommended for this type of experience. I think that was just so improper and have truly disturbed my energy in that moment. Then of course I think that you need to do it in a very safe place where you can rest afterwards, where you're gonna be taken care of afterwards, where the people will not try to gaslight you but will instead actually adhere to your needs. This type of experience is incredibly important, but it can also mess you up so badly if you have a bad one. And I don't mean bad in the sense of you have an ego death or you showed your worst fears, because that can be incredibly healing. I mean bad in a way where it's conducted badly by people who don't know what the hell they're doing, and maybe they even give you medication that's not well prepared. You can literally die from that. And as I say, I was lucky that I didn't. I do believe that everybody could benefit from taking ayahuasca, but one of the things that I see people do nowadays is that they treat it like it's a recreational drug. It really isn't. This thing can change your life for the better, or it can mess you up forever. It's incredibly powerful and it needs to be treated with the respect that it deserves. Because this power is as well beyond this world. I'm only starting to grasp the power and potential of Mama Ayahuasca. Since that experience, I had 2 more sessions in the Brazilian Amazon, which was this year actually. Those ceremonies were conducted by a female shaman that's called Maje. And very interestingly, on my first ceremony with her, I could not feel the energy of my ayahuasca for the first half of the ceremony because I was so blocked. My body was so blocked from the last time that I had a bad experience that until I became fully trusting that the magic knows what she's doing and that those people are there to help me and they are aligned with me, my body literally suppressed ayahuasca. It did not come up for me until Maje actually started doing some cleansing on me and I understood I'm in good hands. From then on, it went smoothly. I know that were also not the last times I've had that sort of experience. But for the future, I know that the most important things when it comes to choosing your ayahuasca experience is the good shaman, having a spiritual calling to do it, and knowing why you do it, your intention. I do think there needs to be pure intentionality behind your ayahuasca journeys. Unless you're one of the people that are lucky enough to do it on a regular basis. But for us gringos, this is quite a privilege that we even get to experience that. So take it with a lot of humility, respect the culture, also understand that many different cultures do their ceremonies differently. But that's a story for another time. Respect the culture, be grateful for the opportunity. Don't treat it recreationally. But most of all, make sure that you verify the place that you take the ayahuasca in. Make sure that you verify those people. Make sure they have good reviews from multiple sources. Also, side note, ayahuasca retreats don't need to cost many thousands of dollars. You mostly just pay for the luxury within those type of retreats. You can do it if that's what you want. But a good ayahuasca retreat, the one I had right after the bad one, was just $160. $160 for an amazing ceremony in which I was taken care of so well. Yes, there was no accommodation. That was just one night ceremony. But it does not have to cost thousands of dollars. For the people here that feel the calling to do ayahuasca, I'll leave you the links to the places that I have done it in that I know that are very legitimate, that will take good care of you. I would say that the first place I did it in Peru, absolutely amazing. It was the top-notch care that everybody requires. Those people required a psychiatric evaluation and a health exam from me before I even attended. There was a nurse at the ceremony if anything was happening. There's a psychologist. There are other carers. Those people took such an amazing care of me during my first experience. I think they set the bar very high. But I think that was the perfect place to have my first ever experience. It doesn't always have to be to that level, but if that's what makes you feel safe, it's worth it. Otherwise, I hope that you got a lot of useful information out of this video. Please leave any questions you might have in the comment section below and I'm gonna try to answer all of them. I wanna tell you that I have a Patreon on which I'm gonna probably do a Q&A around the topic of ayahuasca and I'm gonna provide a lot of other valuable insights and answer a lot of other questions if they may arise. I truly believe that everybody should try ayahuasca at some point of their lives if they feel the calling for it. It is an amazing medicine that I believe can help heal the whole humanity. But we need to do this responsibly. This is not a recreational drug. So please take care of yourselves and I hope to see you somewhere next time on the internet. Bye!